Hello, and welcome to the Thirsty Bitches podcast, where we talk about anything under the sun, from books, entertainment, self-help, and even a little spice. I'm Victoria.
I'm Kiara.
And I'm Katalyn.
And today we're here to talk about Hispanic Heritage Month. As you guys know, we like to do episodes on these important months that we need to recognize and acknowledge, especially as people who live in the U.S., because y'all know that we be rife with problems,
We have
especially
so
surrounding
many issues.
Race. So we just wanted to take a moment to talk about some things that we have learned pertaining specifically to Hispanic Heritage Month. And yeah,
Listen,
we just want to make sure to have these conversations because it's important, especially as people that are not a part of this community.
For those of our listeners who are not from the U.S., we know our problems. We are very aware of them.
Oh,
we are fully
Yeah.
we understand that it is fucked up here. You do not need to keep reiterating to us certain things. We're well aware.
We know.
I call us a third world country with a Gucci belt. Like, we know.
We might have to downgrade that Gucci belt to something else.
Seriously.
Knockoff
Gucci belt. But before we get into this conversation even more, we're going to do our quenchable moments. And if you're new here, quenchable moment is something happy or exciting that has happened to us over the last week or so that we want to share with each other and with you. So to kick us off, Victoria, what was your quenchable moment this week?
So I, as you guys know, live in bumfuck nowhere. And
really?
There are some stores that I obviously don't have access to. For context, when our Walmart was built, when I was about 9, there was like a whole celebration around it because that was a big deal. But yeah, there's not a lot of things that we have easy access to. But when we went on a trip recently, we found a Trader Joe's because my mom likes to stop by one when we come across one. And I got the Brazil nut body butter, the bum cream dupe, and it smells really fucking good. And it's also like 3 times the size. So,
I've heard it's really good.
It is really good. It is very moisturizing. I really like it. So 10 out of 10 would recommend.
I love Trader Joe's.
You guys want a good body butter, this one's a good one. And it's inexpensive. So that's my question.
I literally love Trader Joe's for everything.
Only been once.
I know. I wish we were closer.
I'm a basic white girl. I love me some Trader Joe's.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The biggest reason I wish we were closer, though, is because of the flowers.
They last so long. They're such good flowers.
And there's a really big variety.
And they're relatively cheap. So
yeah, they are very cheap.
Yeah, I agree. Katalyn, what was your quenchable moment? All it says is food.
My quenchable moment.
Yeah, all it says.
Listen, few and far between this week, okay? Yesterday, my coworker got a text from a student who graduated last semester because he wanted to come visit just to say hi and see how like the renovations at the school turned out and stuff. And he brought us breakfast burritos and Mexican Cokes.
Is he the one? He's not the one whose grandma used to make you guys food, right? Is this a different one?
He is, but he bought these ones.
That's so sweet.
No. He was like one of the first kids I met, and it was so sweet. He brought us each 2. It was like egg and chorizo and
chorizo.
So
see, you're a positive influence.
Yeah, but yeah, he came up with a backpack and everything, and we're like, you don't go to school anymore, right? And he's like, yeah, but I thought it would help me like get in the building, and it did.
Oh my god,
they didn't really stop him.
I mean, that's a little alarming, but also like very smart of him.
We have a lot of new security guards and stuff. So
okay,
but anyways, so yeah, I got 2 free breakfast burritos and Mexican Coke, which is still in the fridge. I love
that.
I didn't want to
especially since it's like your first week back. It's been rough. Like,
it's been a fucking shit show the last 2 weeks.
All my friends who are going back to school are just like, as teachers, are just like, they're all having a rough time.
No, you don't get it. They aren't done with the school renovations. We didn't have AC when we had to unpack and set up our room. It got to like 86 in my room, and the school didn't provide fans.
Oh my god.
I had to go get my own.
That
rude.
Yeah.
The U.S. education system, everyone.
It's trash.
It's great.
It's trash.
Yeah.
Anyways, Kiara, what's your quenchable moment?
So my quenchable moment is when summer came into town she brought things with her for me.
Obviously.
And for one of my favorite authors is Mariana Zapata. You guys know this. Our listeners should know this if they've been listening to us long enough. I love Mariana Zapata, and she currently lives in Colorado, but she's from Texas, and she's been in Texas a lot recently, and she's been going around to all the Barnes and Nobles, and she is signing random books. And every time I see it, when it's in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I'll send it to Summer and be like, you or Hayden need to go pick one up for me. And every time she's like, it's always while I'm working. Well, she's dumb and lied to me and handed me a signed copy of this when she got to my house. So now I have a signed copy of The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana. I freaked out. I was like, oh my God.
Fun.
I literally love Mariana Zapata. And so she swindled me. And it's so funny because every time someone like sends me something or does something, I'm not like, oh my God, thank you. I'm like, you're a bitch.
Yeah, you are. You do that every time.
And this is why I don't lie to you when I just get you stuff. I just do it in front of your face.
Like, she handed this to me. I'm like, you're a bitch. And Jen sent me that book a couple weeks ago, and my first response to her was like, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
You're gonna be real mad at me. Not right now. Later.
I'm the only one that doesn't secretly send stuff to Kiara.
But
I do it in her face. I
now have the new cover too. I have the original cover, but she has started rebranding. Yeah, because I think she got picked up by a actual publisher. So like a traditional publisher. Tessa Bailey is a fan of Mariana Zapata, and so is Allie Hazelwood. So, which is my girl, and now I have her autograph in a book. Literally dying. If you guys haven't read Mariana Zapata, you need to. And now I have that fancy edition coming in February from Fairy Loot, and I have this, and I'm just like, I'm living the life. It's my magic. I'm very lucky.
Magic is coming back.
So that's my quenchful moment, is that I have Mariana's autograph.
Nice. I love that for you.
Thank you.
So as you guys know, I've been on a health journey, and with that, I've been looking for tools and products to help me get my health back in check. One of the things I've really been focusing on is staying hydrated, and a product that's really helped me with that is Liquid IV. In just one stick, you get 5 essential vitamins and 2 times faster hydration than with water alone. It's also come in super clutch when I'm out and about, and I realize I haven't hydrated well enough. Plus, it's super convenient to keep in my bag or in my car in case of an emergency. Right now, you can get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use the code STAYTHIRSTY at checkout. That's 20% off of anything you order when you shop for better hydration today using promo code STAYTHIRSTY at liquidiv.com. Stay thirsty, bitches. Well, on to some more deep topics, I guess. Hispanic Heritage Month. Now, I will openly admit that it took a very long time for me to learn and understand the difference between Hispanic and Latino, just because it's not really something that was talked about or discussed when I was a kid. As we were saying earlier, the U.S. is not the greatest at acknowledging other races.
What? What?
I would have never guessed.
You're lying. You're lying.
And obviously that ties into our education system. And it's a real problem. I'm sure people have seen a lot of the stuff coming out of Florida about getting rid of DEI programs and altering African American history that's taught. And I have no doubt that with Florida being a hub of Hispanic and Latino communities, that potentially might happen there as well. And it's just really disheartening because it's something that we need to know and understand to be able to appreciate these communities. So that was something that was really frustrating.
I will say, so a lot of people don't actually know this. Katalyn, I think we've talked about this. I'm not sure if Victoria, if we've talked about it, but I just had this conversation with my stepsister when I was visiting home, because she has an 11th grader and a 6th grader. And so obviously they're going through the American education system right now. And she is the type of person, and she has done this multiple times in the past. She goes to the school and she requests their history books so she can go through them and be like, this is being taught wrong. This is being taught wrong. And the reason why the books look the way that they do, specifically the history books, is because the largest buyer of these history books is Texas. And so Texas gets to determine what sort of history is being taught to students ultimately. And we all know Texas.
Yeah.
So, especially in California, we have a very different Hispanic, Mexican, Latinx population than Texas does. And I think it's really important, like for me with my niece and nephew, is that I give them supplemental information so they understand what they need to know about specifically California. I mean, California is, we were part of Mexico a lot longer than the rest of the country. All of our, I mean, you have San Francisco, San Diego, Los Angeles, like all of our big cities are still named from when they were a part of Mexico. So it's important to kind of have that acknowledgement. A lot of people don't realize just how deep those roots go in California. Just like you don't realize with the name of the cities that you're living in that it's gonna like, you dumb? Are you dumb?
Well, it's like that in Virginia too with the Native American community. We have a lot of towns that are still named based on that language, on that community, which we'll talk about more with the Native American episode. But yeah, it's an important part of U.S. culture, whether people like it or not. And
you all love your fucking Mexican food. Appreciate the culture. The fuck?
Yeah. But I didn't, speaking of the textbook thing, didn't Newsom say, like, we're not going to fucking buy these textbooks if you all don't include the history in it?
Newsom is, as much as people don't like him for being a very outspoken Democratic person, he has done a lot in terms of like taking care of student education, as much as he can with the homeless population. You know, I think he's the one who's trying to pass a bill or get like a constitutional convention, which rarely ever happens, like to get signatures for gun control. Like he is the one who's kind of like stepping up and being the voice for this, and he's getting a lot of flack for that because obviously most of this country doesn't want to hear it. But yeah, he was very like adamant that, you know, there's certain things that we in California need to learn. Because in 4th grade, we still do this mission systems project. And I don't know if you guys know what the missions are. Katalyn, you might. I don't know how far east it goes.
We didn't have missions here. Yeah, no, that wasn't.
So the mission system. I'm gonna say no. The mission system is when Christianity made its way across, and white people got to California, they decided to take this one road, which is now the 101. It's originally the El Camino Real, and they would build missions along it so that travelers could stop at them. But what people don't realize is that they imprisoned the natives of the land, so the indigenous and the Mexican indigenous people in those areas, and they used them as slaves to build these things and to run them and stuff. And we still do these projects to be like, oh, look at the mission system, like, oh, we love it so much, in 4th grade. And it's like they're refusing to teach a really integral part of what this was. And I didn't learn about it until I was in college. Like I was 20 years old when I learned about it. I lived in Southern California my whole life. I lived down like up the road from a mission. So it's important that we start teaching these kids these histories. Like I didn't learn about the Bracero Act until I was 1920, and
the museum just did an exhibit on that. Sorry, it's closed now, but they just
like,
did an exhibit
we don't
on
talk
that.
about the Bracero Act, and people like are like, "What's the Bracero Act?" And it's like basically during the First Depression, like in the 1910s, 1920s, the government went around to Mexican households and they were like, "Hey, here's a train ticket. Go back to where you belong." And they're like, "My family has literally lived in this house for like 2 centuries. Like we've been here longer than you. I have no one on the other side of this border." But they forced people out because they were blaming them for the Depression. And people don't know that. They don't understand that. And so like it's important, especially like when I was talking to my friends in Boston, who obviously in Boston they don't learn about this shit. And I'm like, yeah, no, our histories are very different in California because we have it is such a diverse population because so many white people.
Sorry, I'm like looking out the window. Somebody just pulled up in our driveway and I'm like,
Akko Taco.
Sorry. Sorry. Please continue on.
But it's like, you know, California, it's like the more west you go, the more diverse populations you're going to see. And that's just like how it is, because more white people populated the East Coast than they did the West Coast at one time.
Yes.
So
1,000%.
For me, like,
well, just like how if you go further south, there are more African.
Yeah, and so like for me, like that's one of the reasons why
that's where they stayed.
It's one of the main reasons why I focus on what I did in my histories, you know, race, gender, ethnic, and sexuality studies, because diversity was so integral to my development as a child. Like we had special English classes to teach children who immigrated here how to speak English properly, like as their second language. And so that was just like a part of my education, was kind of being around these people. And so
yeah well, it's we as a country just need to be better about acknowledging our history, because we're repeating history essentially in the way that these communities are being treated. Like we've been having so many issues with DACA recipients. They have been unfortunately the victims of so much backlash because of things that they have no control of, and not that aren't their fault. Not that their parents are really to blame either. They were just trying to give their children a better life and themselves a better lives, and I can't blame them for that. But it's just, and like all of the things that we've seen at the border of Hispanic and Latino women having their tubes tied or having hysterectomies done without understanding or knowing what's happening. Like that's happened.
That's historically like relevant. Like it happened at, I think, UCLA in the 80s. Like it was like the what's the term I'm looking for? We do this. It's like what we do to animals, where we like make sure they can't have. Like they're spaying these women who can't read these documents, and like this is, you guys can look this up. Like it is historically accurate. Like in Los Angeles, they were, as these women were in labor, they cannot read English documents. They do not have an English interpreter, and they're in the throes of labor, which you cannot make an accurate decision when you're like going through labor and delivery. I've never been through it, but I can easily tell you, you cannot make a fucking decision like that. So they have no one there to interpret these documents, and the doctors are like, you have to sign this for us to be able to give you this, to like help you have your child. Not knowing that what they're saying is, yeah, give me a hysterectomy after you deliver my child.
As you're delivering.
Like, yeah. And they did that to so many women. To basically neuter them. Because they were like, oh, there's too many in the population, like, and it's happening again, like with women who are immigrating here. And again, I just want to reiterate this. The US, the United States, we were built on immigration. You white people, you immigrated here. You're not originally from here. So get the fuck out.
Right. And that's why it's such a travesty that we're not learning more about these cultures, because we're doomed to repeat history if we don't. Like, people need to understand the necessity of how immigrants have shaped this country, and they're just unwilling to learn that. And it's so unfortunate. And like, to the Hispanic community, I'm glad, especially now that there are so many members of Gen Z that are specifically a part of these community there that are being loud and outspoken and wanting people to learn, because we need to know. And the vast majority of us want to learn. And it's really important. And something that I have been learning, and this is something that I always wondered about, is Hispanic people acknowledging their indigenous roots. Because that is something I feel like has been lost for a lot of people. And just seeing them kind of reclaim that title, because of course when people think of indigenous, they mostly think of like Pacific Islanders, or they think of Native Americans, and there aren't a lot of people that think indigenous, oh, Hispanic people. But there are Hispanic cultures that are indigenous, and they deserve that same acknowledgement. And it's just been it's been really, I don't want to say rewarding, that's not the right word, but it's been really like heartwarming seeing them regain that part of themselves, because I know, like, as a Black person, that's something that's been really hard for us, is figuring out where are we from, because most of us have been a part of America for so long that it's just hard to find out.
I just saw a TikTok the other day where a Black woman was like, I'm more American than a white person, because
yeah, and a lot of us are. A lot of us are.
I would agree
very
with that,
much
yeah.
so.
And it was not so even on like that's not even like your guys' fault. Like that is white people fucked up.
Yeah. But it's just it's been really nice seeing another community reclaim that for themselves, because they have the right to. They deserve to. They deserve to know and to learn and to be able to acknowledge that part of their history and that part of their culture.
I think
that's
because I have friends who are indigenous, like they have, you know, Native American roots and stuff. And it was just, there was a class I took with one of my friends, and it was just so beautiful to see that her project had to do with danza, which is a form of dance for indigenous peoples from the West. It's like the West Coast, which, so it has like a lot of indigenous aspects to it, but also a lot of Mexican, like indigenous Mexico aspects to it as well. And it was just like so gorgeous to see them come in and like do the dances for us and stuff. And so to kind of see them start reclaiming it, it's just been really incredible, because I grew up around an indigenous population and I've always loved it. So to kind of see people really like leaning into it again has just been really great, because they deserve to be their true selves just like everyone else. So
yeah. And it's also been really cool to see the variety. I know something that I've been learning more about is, and I know that this is kind of a deviation from Hispanic people specifically, but Afro-Latino people, they can also be Hispanic. Just throwing that out there. But it's been really cool to see, like, to unlearn the concept of what a Hispanic person is, and to see exactly, well, not exactly, the variety of people that Hispanic people can be. So I think that's also been really important, is us as a country unlearning these biases that we were taught as children as to what fits into this category. So that's also been really cool. It's just been a lot of learning.
And I also, like, I think for me,
a lot of us,
like I grew up in a border state and relatively close to the border. And I feel like there's a lot of misrepresentation of like immigration, because you are getting 100%. All of these like hot quotes from conservative people that are being taken out of context and misconstrued and stuff. I mean, you have this whole buoy contraption that was just set up in the Rio Grande in Texas. It's only like a mile long, and you can easily just like go around it. Like there was literally reporters that were like kayaking by it. Like you can go around it. But I think because of just like this negative speech that we're seeing from certain people, it's misconstruing what immigration actually looks like at the border. And
100%.
One, first and foremost, the largest grouping of undocumented immigration is people who fly over for vacation or on visas, and they just outstay their visas. They come here legally and they just outstay it. That's like the most normal form. People aren't like on average. I think the lowest form is people like coming over the river, like across like the actual like wall. Like that is the hardest thing for people to do, in my opinion.
It's like a not safe climate.
It's not,
like, weather-wise and people
like the amount of like border control is it's scary and intense.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't want to deal with that either.
Yeah. Well, not only from
I'm a white girl
side,
and I go to the border and I'm like,
sides too.
I'm like, please God, leave me alone. Like I'm a white girl with a passport and a birth certificate of the US, and I still get fucking scared. Like I would not.
Yeah.
And then also like, especially during, you know, the 2020 presidential race, everyone was talking about all of these like undocumented aliens coming over, which is an inappropriate saying, by the way. You should not be calling them. They are just
that's derogatory.
They are immigrants like everyone else. They're like all people from like northern states were like so worried, and we're like, what are you concerned about?
Yeah.
Like you have no.
Do you think they're gonna go up to fucking South Dakota and take your beach house? Like, calm down.
You should be more afraid of Canadians who also look at us and be like, you're fucking crazy. Canada's just like, are you okay down there? And we're like, no.
Yeah.
So it's just like, and most of us southern states are just like the states that are actually bordered to Mexico outside of Texas, because they're fucking trash. Like we're like, no, like we have proper channels for immigration. Like it's not this isn't like a problem that we're seeing. Like yes, it's like a problem, quote unquote, but like we've been dealing with it for centuries at this point. Like we know what we're doing. They're not just like coming over here like influx and like raping all of our women, like people like to say. Right. And on top of that, we have immigrants coming into Texas and Florida that are being shipped off to blue states. They're literally being put on buses and shipped off. And most of these immigrants actually have like meetings with immigration people in other states. They're putting people in Texas specifically on buses to California who have meetings with people in New York, like purposely making it an issue. And of course, California, we were prepared for this. We have the resources for it, but it's just like,
well, after what happened with the people who were sent to Martha's Vineyard, all of the blue states pretty much started like, okay, this is obviously going to be a continuous issue.
I mean,
which is so fucking stupid. And it's dehumanizing, and it's just not okay to do shit like that. And the thing that gets me is these red states that like to do that shit, they're not wasting their resources. They're wasting blue state resources, because blue states are the ones that pay for shit.
And I'm just like, you guys are doing this. Do you not realize that blue states subsidize you? And so you're wasting our resources that we could be giving to you. A concept. But go off.
Which I know, like, that's a deviation from the actual topic at hand. But it's really frustrating to see the way this community is continuously abused, and they don't deserve that. None of us deserve that. And I'm just glad that more information is readily available and that we have access to more resources to be able to learn more about what has happened to them and what is continuing to happen to them, so we can hopefully change it. And I think everyone needs to take the time and put in the effort to learn, and also just to make sure, like, yes, there are members of the community that are willing to teach you, but it's not their responsibility to teach you.
And this is across the board for any racial matter, ethnic matter, sexuality matter. It is not that community's job to teach you what to do to be a better person. Yeah, everything's out there. You can go and figure it out. It's out there.
Yeah. And if you are fortunate enough to have somebody that's a part of that community that is willing to teach you, you need to just shut up and listen.
Or go find your white friend who knows shit. I know shit. You want help? I can give you the resources. I have a lot of them.
So, yeah. But yeah, let us know if you guys have any resources that you think that we should look into, if there's any information that you would like to share with us regarding the Hispanic community. Let us know if there are any celebrations that you think we should look into specifically for Hispanic Heritage Month. I feel like every history month that they have, there should be celebrations because these communities do need to be celebrated and they do need to be acknowledged. And it pushes, I think, people to learn more when there are some kind of overarching event that happens. Not that that should be a requirement. It sucks that that's how it is, but it gets people motivated to learn. So let us know. You guys can email us. You can hit us up on Instagram. You can also comment on any of the platforms that we stream on if they have the comment feature available. But yeah. Can you take us out with an affirmation, please, Kiara?
I will. So today's affirmation is, I am walking into this new season releasing anything that no longer serves me. And I think it's really fitting because that's like Dia de los Muertos is coming up too at the end of October, early November, which really fits into this whole scheme of things. I would challenge you, listeners, to research Dia de los Muertos, make yourself an ofrenda, and tag us in it on Instagram. I would love to see everyone's ofrenda. I love a good ofrenda.
Nice. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Make sure to tune in on Tasty Tuesdays and Thirsty Thursdays for all new episodes. Be sure to subscribe and follow our socials listed in the description. Make sure you like, rate, and leave a review of the podcast to help boost us across platforms. Helps more than you know. Have a lovely day. And remember, stay thirsty, bitches.